What's going on, guys? Welcome to a stimulus check update, stimulus package update, and news report for Friday, April 2nd. It is almost to Easter. I don't know if you guys have any plans. Hopefully you do. Hopefully you will do something fun. Hopefully it'll be something safe. But here's what we know right now. Right now, we are getting a big push from progressives. We're getting a big push from Democrats in the Senate as well, that they are wanting to see more in this infrastructure bill. According to the reports out just over the past about 72 hours, we have seen a lot of people saying how their ideas were not really implemented into President Biden's Build Back Better plan or his American Jobs Plan, which is that $2.25 trillion stimulus infrastructure bill, not stimulus package. But right now, Congress has been away for pretty much 5 days. They've been away from Washington for 5 days. They will come back on April 12th, and they will start, their new course of business. They will start addressing things like this infrastructure bill, possibly negotiating it, passing other, standalone bills, other things. But here's what we know. Right now, just because Congress is not in Washington does not mean they are stopped. Doesn't mean that they are not done doing their jobs. What we know right now is a lot of people are still waiting on their $1,400 stimulus checks. The IRS is pushing forward, trying to get those out, and the IRS has even stated that you should be seeing your $1,400 stimulus check by April 7th. However, one thing they did want to reiterate is that you could potentially see your stimulus checks this weekend. I said this last week as well, that some people that had a pending date of April 1st could potentially see their stimulus checks over the weekend last week. And that's exactly what happened. So one thing I just want to say is if you have not yet received your $1,400 stimulus check, look in the mail because it could be coming in a paper check or a prepaid debit card form. Or make sure you check your bank accounts, and I say accounts, not just one. If you have multiple accounts, check them all because the IRS has been known to make mistakes and send your stimulus check to the wrong account. So just keep that in mind. Now, here's what I want to address. We are getting a large push from progressives in the House. We're getting a pretty good push from Democrats in the Senate as well for a fourth stimulus check. That is really good news. And the reason why I say this is good news is because of everything that economists have been saying over the past possibly 2 weeks. Economists are saying that what we are seeing is we're seeing growth in the right industries, the right sectors. Hospitality and leisure is doing very well right now. We are seeing that this push for a fourth stimulus check coming on the heels of this third stimulus check that some reports are saying about 67% of the money that went out is going to be used to pay down bills. Well, that means if people, the American people, can pay down bills, then the next week or the next month, whenever they get paid again, they should have more money to put towards things like consumer spending. And that's going to help the businesses, help prop up the economy, which means we will have less unemployment. We will see the federal government will not need to provide an additional $300 per week to people on unemployment because, well, they're getting paid very well. So there's a lot of things that really tie into this. There's a bunch of things that factor into whether or not we see an additional stimulus check. But one thing I just want to say right now is I know people are still waiting on their $1,200 check. They're still waiting on their $600 stimulus check, and they're still waiting on their $1,400 stimulus check. The $1,400, there's really nothing we can do about that right now because the IRS is still trying to get those out. However, if you have not yet received your $1,200 or $600 stimulus checks, make sure you go and file your 2020 taxes because that is the only way you'll be able to get that money. So, here's one thing I can tell you that we are currently hearing. Right now, progressives, and the reason why I bring up progressives so much is because they are pushing for the things that the American people really want. And this is what I mentioned before, is that Democrats are trying to pass bills that have that are very favorable to the American people. Well, what's more favorable than putting money directly into your pocket? Well, they can put it into your hand, I guess. but putting it into your pocket, sticking it into your bank account, that works. That's really good. That helps. And so what I can tell you is progressives are not stopping with another stimulus check. That's not where they're going to stop. What they want to do is, and according to Ilhan Omar, she says that she wants to see a cancellation of all rent and mortgages until this crisis is over. And what I can tell you is rental assistance and mortgage assistance is key. It is very important. It is something that is needed. However, rental assistance is so slow to get out, okay, and it's very difficult to get because many landlords are simply rejecting it because the state is deciding, no, we're not going to pay you 100% of what you're owed. We're going to pay you 60%, 70%, 80%, and then you are going to waive the remaining balance for that tenant. And some landlords are like, no, I'm not going to accept this money because I'm not going to accept that. So what I can tell you is right now, progressives are saying, well, if we can't get landlords to accept the rental assistance that we've passed, then the next step is let's just cancel all rent, cancel all mortgages. And the only reason why you can, or the only way that would actually work to cancel all rent, because that's already been discussed, is just cancel all rent. Eviction moratorium, right? Got all that stuff in place. The problem is if a landlord still has to pay their mortgage for that property, that's where canceling all mortgages comes in, because landlords are getting screwed. And then if you got a landlord that, let's say an older person, and a lot of people do this or have done this as well, is that they go and pay off their entire property. They've had it for decades. Let's say they had it for 30, 40, 50 years. They have this property, and that property is paying them, let's say, $2,000 per month. Well, if all $2,000 per month is going to the property owner, let's say for them to live, well, here's the other issue. Some are saying that, okay, well, if we cancel all rent, cancel all mortgages, the other issue is we need to provide for those people that don't have a mortgage and are using that money to actually live off of. And this is where Social Security comes in. Maybe provide a Social Security boost. Maybe provide an additional stimulus check. It's all tied in. And this is what makes it so difficult at this point, is trying to figure out where are we going to, how are we going to bring in additional stimulus check, and who's it going to go to? But how's it technically going to be paid for? And then you factor in, how do we present this to not only to Congress, but to the American people as this is what is needed? Because there's so many ways to tie it in. This is just one. We also know progressives are pushing for Medicare for all. However, according to a few reports, Medicare for more is what is actually being considered as a more likely option. Medicare for all would mean everybody gets pretty much free healthcare. Medicare for more means instead of having Medicare start at 65, it actually starts at 60 or possibly 55, which would actually help out many more people, which is the reason why they call it Medicare for more. And that is something that Bernie Sanders is also really pushing for as well. We know progressives, they want to see that the billionaires in our country, and this is pretty much spearheaded by Bernie Sanders himself, he wants to see the billionaires pay for and provide for lower income families. And how are they going to do that? Well, they can do it through either a wage increase, which is essentially what Bernie Sanders has been pushing for even before the $1.9 trillion stimulus package even passed, or tax hikes. Well, the tax hikes are a little bit harder to implement simply because some more moderate Democrats do not want to do this, but we will see. Elizabeth Warren has been trying to push different wealth taxes. However, they're not getting a lot of support from, definitely not much support from people in the House, but we will see what happens there. We also know that obviously there's the $2,000 per month for an additional stimulus check, but this is monthly. This isn't a one-time check. This is monthly. And this is where some economists are saying that this is great. This is a good idea. It has kind of the principles behind it. The problem is it's too expensive. And if we do a $2,000 per month stimulus check, there's going to be a lot of people that are just going to not go into work because they're getting the more money now just having the stimulus check. And so what they're saying is it would actually make more sense, okay? And I'm not saying this is right or wrong. You can decide for yourself. You can comment down below if you want to. But here's what some economists are saying is if we give $2,000 per month to every single eligible American, the problem is that we are going to see people just not go into work because now they have more money now than they did before, when they were actually working. And in addition to that, and they could still get unemployment benefits until September 6th as well. But here's what economists are saying, and this is a prediction that some are having, is we will see many families will be like, well, who cares about this pandemic? That, okay, you're going to give us $2,000 per month for the entirety of this pandemic? All right, well, let's stay in this pandemic. Some people are going to be like, that's perfectly fine. We don't care. We're still doing exactly what we have been. If the numbers are high, who cares? As long as you give me $2,000. And so this is what a few economists are saying is that we will see there will be a transition from, oh, let's get out of this pandemic to, oh, you're giving me $2,000 because we're in a pandemic? Okay, I'll take the $2,000 for me, my spouse, and my 2 kids. I'll take $8,000 per month as long as we're in this pandemic. And yeah, let's stay in the pandemic. I don't care. I'm going to get $8,000 per month. That's kind of what we're hearing. And then after the pandemic is over, it would go back to kind of roll back to just $1,000 per eligible American. And so right now, some are saying that no, this would actually be an issue if this were to pass. But what I can tell you is I don't think this is going to pass. This is the ABC Act. I don't think this is going to pass. I think it's too expensive. I think it doesn't actually cater to the right people. Do I think $2,000 should have been done a long time ago? Yes, I do. Do I think $2,000 per month should still be done? I do think it should be done. However, I don't think the way that Congress is currently broken up, with the House only having, they can lose, I think, 3 votes, and the Senate, it's a 50-50 split. So I don't think we have the numbers to get something like this passed, but it would be great to see it. The issue is right now that we have 53 representatives in the House pushing for an additional stimulus check. We have a group of 10 senators in the Senate that are pushing for an additional stimulus check. But as to where they go, how high they decide to make this check, and to who they provide it to, that's what we're kind of waiting on. And that's something that experts say we should see within the next few weeks. And this is most likely going to come out after President Biden reveals the part 2 of his infrastructure bill. So we will see what happens there. And then obviously we know that progressives want to see an extension, but, and here's the big thing, according to a report this morning, progressives want to see an extension of unemployment benefits, but they also want to see the introduction of a phase out of unemployment benefits as well. And they say this because right now, the way unemployment is working is on September 6th, that is the last day you will even qualify for unemployment benefits. Now, you can still get your state unemployment benefits as long as you haven't gone over the 74-week period. But here's the big thing, is that progressives want to see, okay, it gets extended from September 6th to maybe the end of the year, or even to, let's say, November, right? So it goes all the way, you get all of September, you get all of October, and then it cuts out at November. Well, if it's $300 per month, let's just say, and this is just a hypothetical, this hasn't actually been thrown out by anybody, but the report states they want to see a phase out. So what a phase out could potentially look like in this situation is, let's say it stops, the current unemployment benefits stop on September 6th, but then they want to extend it and then phase it out until November 1st. What could happen is you could see $50 gone every single week until, right around the end of October. Well, the reason why they want to see this is because they want to help people cope with a lower income. And this is exactly what the article said, is to cope with a lower income. Okay, to try to just, kind of get it into your mind, get it through your system that, okay, I don't have, $300 extra every single week like I did a month ago. I only have, $150 this week. Next week, I'm only going to have an additional $100. Week after that, only an additional $50. And then I won't have any additional money to go on top of my state unemployment benefits. And so what we're seeing right now is there's ideas pretty much being tossed around. Like, hey, well, what if we did this? What if we did this for unemployment? Would that help with getting people back into work? And that's the other issue. And that's where Republicans are at. And some moderates are like, well, we don't want to extend unemployment benefits any further. No. We don't want to do that anymore, because if we do, that's going to hinder our recovery efforts. But here's the thing, and I think this is interesting to note, is that currently our unemployment rate, it went from 6.2% for February down to 6% as of today for March, because the jobs report came out earlier this morning. We added 916,000 jobs in March. The estimate was only 675,000. So we pretty much blew past that. We saw a lot of these gains were coming from leisure, hospitality, construction, and manufacturing. The only issue, though, and this is the big one, is that how do we get all those people that left the workforce back to the workforce? How do we entice them back? Well, here's the issue, and this is where some economists are saying this is going to be challenging, is because right now they're saying, okay, we're providing unemployment benefits to people that are either scared to go back to work because they are worried they could potentially contract COVID. Well, President Biden signed an executive order saying that, no, if you are worried that you could potentially get it, you don't have to go to work, and that is an acceptable excuse or acceptable reason why you can't work, is because you are just worried about COVID. Well, and then you continue to get unemployment benefits and you continue to get your $300 per week. Well, what they're saying is, and this is coming from Republicans and more moderates, is if we are trying to get people back to work, then we cannot keep giving them an additional $300 per week and saying it's okay, if you don't go into work, we're going to give you this money anyway. And so that's the issue. And so right now there's two different sides, playing into this, and that's becoming a big problem, because right now nobody's like, or people are like, well, we don't know how to get a bill passed because we're trying to cater to this side that wants to extend and phase out unemployment benefits, but then we got to cater to this side that says, no, we don't want any extension, but yet we can't lose one single vote in the Senate. That's where we're seeing a lot of problems. But speaking of problems and speaking of unemployment, we know that there has been a big blow to many people, and this is something that just came out. This came out the other day. When I read this, I thought, this can't be true. So I had to look into it. Here's what we're hearing. As of right now, there are 13 states that will not allow residents to claim the full $10,200 as a unemployment income tax waiver. And I thought this just can't be true. This isn't possible. This story is made up. But I looked into it and it's actually true, 100% true. Even though the federal government passed a bill through the American Rescue Plan to include a income tax waiver of up to $10,200 of income, okay, as long as you made under $150,000 in adjusted gross income in 2020, and that doesn't include your income from unemployment. But here's what we know. Some states, because you have to pay state income taxes, they decided no, they are not going to waive that unemployment income. You still have to pay income taxes on your unemployment income. So the following states will require residents to pay state income taxes on their unemployment income. And this could hurt many people. Here are the states. Got Colorado, Georgia, Hawaii, Idaho, Kentucky, Massachusetts, Minnesota, Mississippi, North Carolina, New York, Rhode Island, South Carolina, and West Virginia. Now, this is actually pretty big, and New York has been hit pretty hard. And so, this is what some are saying, is that right now, if you live in some of those states, you may see your taxable amount is not lowered as much as it could have been simply because of this change. Now, there's also other states on this list that are working on doing some type of law to make it where you do not have to pay some of your state income taxes. But as of right now, that is the list of the states that will require you to pay some form of state income taxes. So just keep that in mind. You may be trying to do the math in your head, like, oh, I'll pay this or that. But if you live in one of those states, you might have to. But another thing I want to address is what economists are saying is actually contributing to the lower unemployment numbers, to the growth in the economy, to seeing that leisure and hospitality are coming back with a bang. This is going to be really good. But economists are currently saying that right now, with vaccines rolling out across the country, with millions and millions of people getting these shots every single day, it's really helping. So if you haven't received your vaccination and you want to, just go look into it. There's a lot of states that are currently pretty much accepting just about anybody to go and get your shot. So if you want to, go and get it. If not, I completely understand. Now, they also say with stimulus checks being used to pay for goods and services, this is really helping out because now some businesses are not reliant solely on the government and the PPP funding in order to stay open and pay for their employees. This is big because now the customers are providing money to the business. The business is then making some money and is profitable to pay their employees, to pay their suppliers, keep the lights on, keep an active lease. And this is actually contributing to an economic recovery. So businesses are getting the funding that they need. They're rehiring employees, which is bringing the unemployment rate down. As the unemployment rate falls, we should start to see more businesses open up. We should start to see more spending. The velocity of money is going to increase, and that is all good news. And this is what many economists are calling the recipe for success. So it's vaccinations, stimulus checks, and businesses opening. That is what economists are saying is the recipe for success. So we will see what happens, but this doesn't mean we can stop here. Many economists are saying right now that we need to keep spending, that rates are so low, it makes absolutely no sense why we would stop now. And they say we need to continue to spend to help stimulate the economy to a point that it can sustain itself. So what they are pretty much saying is, I'll put this in to try to make it simple, is if somebody gives you $10, let's say your parents were to give you $10 every single day just for doing your chores, right? Give you $10 every single day. Great. Every single day, you're going to get $10. Let's say $70 at the end of the week. Cool. $70 every single week. That's what you're going to get. Here's the issue. If your parents cannot pay you for whatever reason, okay, you're not actually being able to self-sustain. But if you can get money from, let's say, your parents, you can get money from a neighbor, a grandparent, a cousin, an aunt, family members, friends, right? And so you're getting a bunch of money, and let's say $1 from every single person. You're actually able to sustain yourself a little bit longer and much better. So that's kind of what the economists are saying is right now we need to spend money so that we can give it to the American people so that they can go out and spend it. They can give it to the right people. They can go and spend it in the right places. And then we will see businesses can open up and they can fully function without the help of the U.S. government. Right now they say unemployment is still too high. Millions are relying 100% on unemployment income and the $300 per week boost. And many businesses are counting on their PPP money in order to survive and pay employees just to work. And so that's what we can't have, according to many economists, is yes, the PPP funding is great. It's helping many businesses stay afloat, stay open, and continue to work. But the issue is, what happens if the PPP money stops? We saw what happened. Businesses closed. We saw what happened when the unemployment income stopped. People had no money. We saw what happened when the stimulus checks stopped and there was not an additional stimulus check. People still had no money. The rent became, there was more rent that became due. Well, that became a big issue. So right now there is a big push from progressives trying to get more support to the American people. But we will have to wait and see what actually gets added or considered into the next bill. Right now, there's no indication from President Biden that all these different provisions that are being called for from not only the American people, but lawmakers as well, there's no indication that he is going to even include these. So we will see. What I can tell you, though, is there will be a lot of new proposals coming up. Chances are we're not going to see a bunch of new ones until after President Biden reveals his part 2 of his infrastructure bill. But we will see as we get there. And we know Republicans, and specifically Mitch McConnell, say they're going to fight this every step of the way. So only time will tell what the American people are going to get and what will be in this next bill. But what I can tell you is I will be here every step of the way. I'll keep you updated on what we're hearing and what we could potentially see. Just want to thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing as always so I can continue to keep you updated on everything that's going on. And I'll see you guys on the next one.